What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have the Polish dish we're obsessed with. I'm excited to see this. I love food, but I am hungry, so I'm scared. This is going to send my stomach absolutely starving. Before we dive in, if you guys enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's dive right in.
Poland may make the best stuffed cabbage rolls of any country out there, and they're known as gołąbki. Even though
I don't like cabbage. I don't think this will be a food that I'm obsessed with. I'll look at it and I'd be willing to try it, but I don't think this would be a food I'd be obsessed with.
family has eaten this a million times, I found a few ways to make them even better using a few insider cooking techniques. We're gonna start off by making a key ingredient for that stuffing. Sound good?
Let's do it. Let's see what I'll go.
We're going to need 2/3 cup of al dente long grain cooked rice. Okay. My foolproof recipe for this is adding 1/3 cup of rice to a small size sauce pot and toasting it over low medium heat for about 3 to 4 minutes. In the meantime, we'll bring 2/3 cup of water to a boil. You'll know the rice is toasted up when it turns milky white. See how it's white on the left side and raw rice on the right side? We're nowhere at a good stage here. Let's add that boiling water to the pot of rice, season it gently with salt, give it a stir, add on a lid, and cook it for only 8 minutes. Remember, we want this rice to be al dente, which means to the tooth, so it should be firm but not crunchy. Don't worry, the rice will continue cooking in the stuffing later. Now we want to cool the rice down quickly, so the best way I know how to do that is to transfer it over to a plate, platter, or sheet tray and just spread it in a very thin layer and set it to the side. Now the most traditional binder that you would find back in Poland is using barley or groats. Rinse these, boil them in water for about 15 minutes, and drain them. You would use the exact same amount as rice, which is 2/3 cup. Now for some quick prep, we want to small dice up 1 medium-sized yellow onion. You could use a white or a sweet. We're heading over to the cooktop. I have a large saute pan. We're going to add in 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Yes, I know this seems like a lot. I'll explain why we're using more than usual in just a minute. But first, over medium heat, let's make sure the butter is melted. We're going to add in the onions, gently season with salt, just help draw out some of that moisture. We're going to cook it while constantly stirring for 5 minutes or until it starts to turn light brown, just like this. Perfect. Let's turn the heat down to low and we'll occasionally stir it for an additional 10 minutes. Let's be a good steward of our time and prep up some garlic. We're going to give 4 whole garlic cloves a quick smash, and then we're going to finely mince those up. And guess what? That's it for the prep. Any leftover onion peelings or garlic ends, I just pop them in the freezer and use them for stock for later. Head back over to the cook.
Onion peelings and garlic ends get popped in for stock. Hey, my boy's a professional out here. You feel me? Well, I bet that stock you make is flavorful. Okay, I'm getting in it. I don't like onions either, but I'm getting into this.
Let's have a look at where our onions are. You can see they are a deeper brown. Be sure to try one. It's good to know what things taste like at every single stage of the process. They should be sweet and delicious. At this stage, we're going to add in the garlic and we're going to cook it just until fragrant, which only takes about 30 to 45 seconds. Now at this stage, let's turn the heat completely off. I'll explain why in just a second, because here's my first secret insider technique. So in Italian cuisine, we use a little trick of soaking bread and then adding it to meatballs. And since this has a meatball-like stuffing, we're going to do the exact same thing. Now, when you cook soaked bread, it puffs up and creates tiny little air pockets, making the meatballs so much more tender and much more delicious. We'll need 2
I've never had that. I'll bet that tastes so good. That upsets me. That genuinely upsets me.
Slices of bread, just like you would get from a normal sliced loaf. If you want to make a homemade version, I've got an awesome recipe you can check out. We want to make sure we remove any of that brown crust. Then we're just going to medium to large dice it. It does not need to be perfect. So to stick along with those Italian trends, we're going to soak it, but instead of water or milk, we are going to soak it in all that buttery goodness that's still in the pan with the onions and the garlic. All that bread is going to ingest all of those flavors and make it that much more delicious.
I swear it is.
Just mix everything until it's combined, and then we're going to spread it in a thin layer, just like with the rice, to get it cooled down as quickly as possible. Now we're
Okay.
going to get started on that filling, but first let's bring a large pot of water to a boil since this is going to take a few minutes. You'll need that water rolling for the cabbage in just a little bit. Back over to the countertop, I have a large bowl which I'm going to add in 1 pound of 85 to 15 lean to fat ratio ground beef. You could use any lean to fat ratio. Then we're going to add in 1 pound of ground pork, followed up with our 2/3 cup of cool down long grain white rice.
Okay.
Now my good friend Lucy, who I go to the CrossFit gym with, she's from Poland, and she told me when making gołąbki, anything that you can add in there to bring about more flavor is good to go.
Ooh.
So we are going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of dry oregano, 1.5 teaspoons of marjoram, then a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika.
My boy
Let's
doing
grab
his
that
thing.
onion, garlic, and butter soaked bread mixture in the pan. We're going to add that in there.
my
Then
boy
we're
is
going to
doing
generously season it with coarse salt and freshly cracked black pepper.
I might be changing my mind on this dish. I might be going back on what I said in the beginning because I just seen it all get put together in this bowl. I seeing that finished product. I know it's gonna look freaking amazing.
Now
I
get
just
in
know.
there with your
I
hands.
just
Yes,
know.
you could use a spoon and mix everything together until it is completely combined. Now, how are you going to know this is tasty? We're going to take a small piece and we're going to fry it in a little bit of oil on both sides until it's done cooking, and we're going to try it. That's how we know. Let's see where we're at. That's perfection right there.
Oh my god.
Now let's move on to the cabbage. Let's have a look at our water. It's boiling. Let's season it up enough with salt so that it is as salty as the ocean. This liquid will season up our cabbage to make sure even our outside cabbage roll is seasoned and delicious. Now for the cabbage, it's best to use a younger head of cabbage like this. It's sweeter and more tender. They will have bright green leaves that are a little bit looser on the outside. However, you can absolutely use just a regular head of mature cabbage that looks just like this, or another option, if it's all you have, a head of Savoy cabbage will absolutely work here. Any of these are good to go.
Okay.
However, we do need to remove the core, and to do this, I like to use a paring knife. I just feel a little safer doing it. And you just cut down and at an angle tilted in towards the core and go all the way around until it easily removes just by pulling it up like this.
Okay.
We're taking this entire head of cabbage. It's okay with those extra outside leaves if they're falling off. We're going to place it in that boiling salted water, and we're going to cook it for about 3.5 to 4 minutes per side. The goal here is to loosen up the cabbage leaves so that they pull off with ease without ripping or breaking apart. After that amount of time, I'm just going to take it out, set it on a plate, let it cool for only 4 to 5 minutes until it's good enough that I can easily touch it with my hands.
Okay.
Then start to gently pull away all the leaves until you roughly get in between 16 and 18. No reason to go in any further. Now these outside leaves can be a little bit on the tougher side, but you can still absolutely use them to roll up some gołąbki. Now for the leftover leaves and this center cabbage heart, what we want to do is simply cut this in half and then quarter them. We are going to put this in the bottom of the pot, and it's going to sort of act as a barrier as we braise the gołąbki so that nothing sticks to the bottom. All right, we're going to roll these up, but we have to do one quick thing here. Using that same paring knife, we want to thinly slice away that main vein in each cabbage leaf. Doing this will allow it to roll up with ease without any of that leaf breaking off or sticking out too much. This is very easy to do and absolutely a necessity to get a nice tight roll. Now it's time to roll these up. You're going to roughly grab about 2 to 3 ounces, totally fine to eyeball it here. Press it down a little bit towards the bottom of one leaf of cabbage. We're going to fold in the sides, and then we're just going to roll it up as tightly as we can, ensuring
I might just like this. I think it looks good. And I don't like cabbage. I don't like onions. But this looks good.
none of those cabbage leaves are ripping or tearing. And yes, it's totally okay to add more of the stuffing to the cabbage roll and make it bigger. For me, I like a more cabbage to meat ratio. We repeat this process until all the filling is used. I've got 16 beautifully sized rolls. This is perfect. And now for the cooking, I have an 8-quart stock pot. You could also probably get away with a 6-quart pot. We are gonna add in all those leftover cabbage pieces and the ones that we quartered up right to the bottom. Then we're gonna just layer on our gołąbki rolls all over the top of those. It's okay if some are staggered or slightly falling over one another. This does not need to be perfect because we're gonna braise them in some liquid. Now, we're going to use 3 cups of good beef stock. Of course, chicken stock would work as well. But first, I think I can bring about more flavor by adding in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. This is just gonna help add more depth to our final sauce. Whisk everything together until it is combined, and we are gonna pour it right over top of our gołąbki. Now we're not going to season anything because as it cooks, it's going to pull in plenty of the seasoning, onion and garlic flavors, and of course meat juices from the stuffing and seasoned cabbage leaves throughout this cooking process. Remember, we want a balance of flavors, so not everything needs to be over salted. We are going to add on the lid and bring this to a boil, which is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes over high heat. Then we're going to come back and we're going to turn the heat down to low and let it simmer for about 45 to 50 minutes. The goal here is to make sure the cabbage leaves are tender and the meat is completely cooked through. Now there are a couple other options to cook these. One, you can bake them by adding them right to a 13x9 casserole dish. Add in that same 3 cups of beef stock with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Then cover it with foil going in the oven on a middle rack at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 80 to 90 minutes. Now my friend Lucy says she loves her gołąbki pan fried in a little bit of butter. When the cabbage leaves brown on the outside, they crisp up a bit, but they also sweeten up and the flavor is amazing. Then she simply serves these with some of that tomato sauce, which we're going to get to in a few seconds. All right, let's go back and have a look at our gołąbki that is braising. And first of all, the smells in here are insane. No joke. All right, now my second little insider technique is we are going to use some of this braising liquid to make a fantastic tomato sauce, but we need to drain it off. You can do this by using a smaller sauce pot lid and put.
I would love to know how many of you guys like actually eat this dish, and what do you guys think about his version of gołąbki, or do you guys got a different version, a different recipe? How good do you guys think his
Push
tastes?
it in there while the liquid drains off into a separate 5 to 6 quart pot. If you don't have a smaller lid, you could also put a little piece of foil in there to hold everything in place as well. Be sure to cover that gołąbki with the lid. These will stay warm for easily 45 more minutes. Now, we are going to add in 3 cups of tomato puree. I'm going to add a little half cup of water, swish it around to make sure I get all that tomato goodness out of the container. 1 bay leaf, and then a pinch, probably just 1/16 teaspoons of ground allspice. Gently season it with salt. We're gonna crank the heat up to medium-high heat, and we are gonna cook this for 15 minutes while occasionally stirring to help concentrate those flavors. After that amount of time, let's come back, give it a stir. It looks awesome. It's got a great consistency, not too thick, not too thin. What we're gonna do to finish this off is add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter and just a teaspoon of red wine vinegar. We're gonna give it another gentle season, of course, salt, give it a stir, and of course, how do we know if this is good? Let's eat some.
Gotta taste it, gotta taste it. Man,
I wanna drink it. It's just so good.
I want to
And
try
believe it or
too,
not,
big
this will
dog.
actually get better with time. So this sauce by tomorrow will be so much more intense in flavor and way more delicious. Let's plate all this up. Whether you're in a bowl or plate, we're gonna add some of that tasty tomato sauce. Then we're gonna add in some of our gołąbki rolls. Let's slice one in half and see where, yeah, that is what we're looking for. And a very classic Polish garnish of finely minced fresh dill. And believe it or not, this is one of my wife's all-time favorite meals. Let's see if we've got some smiles. Yep, winner, winner. Without question, Poland definitely knows what's going down in the comfort food department. And if you want to try another classic Polish dish, you have to check out my homemade pierogi. I've got an awesome recipe video. You don't want to miss it. See you on there.
Bro, he's making me so hungry, bro. Y'all got to eat something. That was a great video. Y'all let me know what y'all think, how great y'all think it was, and if you have a different recipe for them. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the next one. I'll see y'all next time.